Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I wanted to talk about the first Victor talking machine label with the dog. Nipper, of course, is the name of the dog looking in the gramophone. And most of us know that he never was originally looking into a gramophone. He was looking into a Edison Bell cylinder machine, of which you could make recordings on wax. And of course, Francis Berard, who saw um, that image with the dog, because he inherited the dog, the Edison Bell cylinder machine, and the like. And of course, he painted the picture with the dog peering into that horn, looking for its master's voice. And of course, it was changed in time because he brought it to the gramophone and typewriter company. And, well, we all know the rest of the story. They said, paint in one of our new machines and we'll buy the painting from you. It was marketed as a trademark by Emil Berliner in 1900. And within a short period of time after 1901, because the Victor Talking Machine Company was founded with the patents of Emil Berliner and Johnson in a partnership that started October the 3rd, 1901, called the Victor Talking Machine Company. And by 1902, mid 1902, Nipper and the gramophone, which you never saw, make their appearance on Victor Records. I would like to show you the labels of records that led to that transition. Now, I have done previously the history of the Victor Talking Machine Company, in which I showed you consolidated gramophone records. And I showed improved gramophone records. So we're going to go by that. But what we're going to go to is the 10-inch record that was introduced in the beginnings of 1901, when it was still the Consolidated Talking Machine Company, a Victor record, under Eldridge Reeves Johnson's name. In fact, we call it the Johnson label. It's a major transition period. It's when a lot of court cases were going on between Frank Seaman, Eldridge Johnson, the Columbia Phonograph Company, and the like. So let us start with the first label, which of course is the label most people know. Nothing unusual about these labels, but I want to get them in the proper order. The first label I want to show you is the Johnson label, which was used until late 1901, possibly early 1902. I imagine in many cases, not wishing to waste labels, that they used up all the labels that they had for certain records. And so I imagine in 1902, early 1902, there was probably a few records still being released with Eldridge Reeves Johnson's name on the records. This is the first label I want to point out to you. This, of course, is the Victor Monarch label, and of course you can see it says Eldridge Reeves Johnson on the label. That's very important. Now, of course, when Emil Berliner and Eldridge Johnson join forces, the next label that will come out in late 1901, probably early 1902, is this label. Very much similar, except instead of Eldridge Reeves Johnson, you see the Victor Talking Machine Company. And these were what we call the pre-dog records of 1901 and 1902. And it is not until the middle of 1902 that Nipper finally makes his appearance. And it's interesting to note that on the early Victor records, how the style of the previous label was carried through to the next. This is a nice example of the first Nipper label. It says Victor Monarch record, as it had said. It has the wavy lines on top. It says Victor Talkie Machine Company. And of course, this is one of those odd records early on in which you had orchestral accompaniment, and they make it a point of showing it. It was a early form of that. But nonetheless, this is how the early label started. And in the course of just about a year, we went from Eldridge Reeves Johnson to Nipper. And of course, Nipper would be preeminent on every record made by Victor, starting around 1909 on the Gramophone Company. Of course, today you have companies called HMV. If you really want to think about it, that's his master's voice, which is the descendant of the Gramophone Company. So I wanted to share that with you, let you see the beginnings of the Victor Talking Machine and the advent of dear old Nipper looking into the gramophone he never saw.